Sophia of Hanover was the woman who nearly became Queen of England. When the son of Queen Anne of England passed away, leaving England without an heir, the English government sought the near Protestant in the royal family bloodline who could inherit the throne. Eventually, they would find Sophia of Hanover, who was 51st in line to the throne, second cousin to Queen Anne and a descendant of James I's daughter, Elizabeth, Queen of Bohemia. In finding Sophia and the House of Hanover, the English government could cut off any claim to the throne from the Catholic James Francis Edward Stuart. In this episode we look at the life of the woman who nearly became Queen of England. Sophia was born on the 14th of October 1630 in The Hague in the Dutch Republic, and what is now known as the Netherlands. She was the 12th child born to her parents, Frederick V of Palatinate and Elizabeth Stuart, Queen of Bohemia. Her mother was the daughter of James I of England, therefore making her the granddaughter of the English and Scottish monarch, and would give her a very tenuous link to the throne of England. She would also be known as Sophia of Palatinate before she was married. She would spend most of her early life growing up in the Dutch Republic, seeking sanctuary during the 30 Years' War. The 30 Years' War was a very large conflict between northern Protestant states against the Holy Roman Empire and Spanish Kingdom, fought out in Central Europe. She was at one time pursued in marriage by her first cousin, Charles II of England, who was also a grandchild of James I. She would rebuke his advances, though in fear that he had ulterior motives in gaining access to her family's huge wealth. Sophia would eventually marry Ernest Augustus, Duke of Brunswick-Lüneburg, on the 30th of September 1658 in Heidelberg. Ernest Augustus was also a blood relative of Sophia. Her husband was a second cousin of Sophia's mother Elizabeth Stuart, as they both shared the same great-grandfather, Christian III of Denmark. After their marriage, Ernest would become the first Elector of Hanover. In 1660 their first child and son, George, was born, who would eventually become King George I of Great Britain. The next year their second child and son, Frederick Augustus, would become a general in the imperial army, passing away at the age of 29 in 1690. Between 1664 and 1665, Sophia would take a long break in Italy, leaving her children in the care of a governess for their education whilst away. They would have a third son and child in 1666 with Maximilian William of Brunswick-Lüneburg, who would become a field marshal in the imperial army. Their first daughter and fourth child, born in 1668, was Sophia Charlotte, who would go on to be Queen of Prussia, when she married Frederick I of Prussia. Sophia Charlotte and Frederick's descendants would become both Prussian and German monarchs. In 1669 and 1671, two more sons would be born, Charles Philip of Brunswick-Lüneburg, who would become a colonel in the imperial army, and Christian Henry of Brunswick-Lüneburg. Their last child and son, Ernest Augustus of Brunswick-Lüneburg, Duke of York and Albany, born in 1674, would inherit the titles of James II of England in 1716, a year after becoming the Prince Bishop of Osnabrück. Three of Sophia's sons would be killed in military conflicts. In 1682, Sophia's oldest son, George, wished to marry Sophia Dorothea of Celle. Celle was a small town in Lower Saxony. Sophia was initially against the marriage, but she was eventually persuaded that their union would be a good for both her son and her family due to the financial heiress presumptive. In 1683, George and Sophia Dorothea would give their mother cause for celebration with the birth of their first child and son, George, who would eventually go on to become King George II of Great Britain. All seemed well in the Hanover household, with Sophia's son producing an heir to electorate, but unbeknown the family were brewing